Oh yeah. It's AEG time. The BK1S Foam Dart Blaster is a select fire automatic springer-based blaster, also known as an AEG or AEB, that retails for around $160 US, making it one of the cheapest AEGs you could get your hands on, with the BK1S being the improved version of the original BK1, which apparently had a ton of issues. But first, these little darts are getting kind of expensive, and I blow through a lot of them with every single video, so until Dart Zone Worker or some other company decides to sponsor the channel's ammo requirements, it's ad time. This video is sponsored by Temu. You probably heard of them before, but did you know that you can get a pink lightsaber from Temu that does all the lightsaber things and even changes color? This super loud, rubberized, rugged, splash-proof Bluetooth speaker? How about this smartwatch that does all the smartwatch things at such a low price I can't even comprehend it? And don't you dare forget the night vision goggles. Whatever you're looking for, Temu has it, and they have it at the lowest prices imaginable. Site-wide sales with up to 70% off. Free shipping on items that are shipped from Temu, and free returns up to 90 days. And of course, the price protection policy. That means if you buy something and the price goes down within 30 days, you can request a partial refund. And just for my viewers, if you scan the QR code on screen or click the link down in the description below, you can buy this Bluetooth speaker for $1 with free shipping, and you'll get a $100 coupon book that you can use all over Temu. $1 free shipping Bluetooth speaker. So make sure you click on the link down below to download the Temu app today. Not really much to talk about what's in the box, because there honestly wasn't a whole lot in the box, as you can see from the fact that the blaster is removed and there's just a thingy of darts and some rails. Special thanks to phantomtoys.com.au and, I'm probably mispronouncing this, Jichi for sending this blaster off to me. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have one. And this blaster will be for sale at a bunch of different places. I know some other people have got their hands on this one. Prices may vary, but I'm being told it should retail for around $160 US. You've got an adjustable buffer tube stock, which of course you can remove and put on whatever buffer tube you want on it. But that's also where your battery goes. You get a magazine, and this is not a worker Talon mag, nor is the blaster worker Talon mag compatible, and we'll talk about that. Push button magazine release right there, works exactly how you expect. It is not ambidextrous, unfortunately. And speaking of not ambidextrous, the fire controls are only on the left-hand side of the blaster. You've got a charging handle right here, which is useful for clearing any jams you may get. Full-length Picatinny rail up at the top of it, and of course if you want to add some side rails, you got some M-lock rails right here that will go into these slots. Metal barrel, the front end just kind of twists off if you want to add a scar muzzle. Little spring-loaded door right here, you can push that catch in, pull it open, and then you can peek inside to see if you have a jam, or of course see if you have a foam dart loaded. And the entire blaster is injection molded. The only metal parts I've seen so far is this little piece right on there, which kind of holds this whole buffer tube assembly on, and the barrel itself. Everything else is of a polymer, I assume a nylon. It's a little thin, which could be a downside for durability, although it still seems like it's going to be way more durable than any kind of 3D printed option. And yeah, it does seem less substantial than other things I have talked about. This is a really lightweight and compact blaster. This is the lightest AEG I've used by far, and the main claim to fame of the BK1S over the original BK1 is apparently this thing has metal gears inside of it.
Metal Gear.
As opposed to the nylon ones, which apparently destroyed themselves in the original blaster. Which of course is going to be fun to see if this blaster survives. There's a QR code on the back of this thing, which I haven't removed yet. The QR code goes to a dead website. And the darts this thing comes with are, they look to be like, they're not the same as the worker bamboos I've been getting, but they seem pretty okay. So this is a blaster designed for the Chinese foam flinging enthusiast market, and thus it does not use a worker Talon mag geometry. Not only is it cheaper for the company to just produce these mags, although I assume it's something like selling razors to sell razor blades. You buy the blaster, now you have to get mags for it, but apparently domestically in China, the players do not care. For them, these things are so cheap it doesn't matter. And these 12-round magazines are a fair bit thinner than a worker mag by about, I don't know, 8 to 10%. And they even have a follower stop in there so you can't overload overload the mag. And if this is a hill you want to stand on, well, keep in mind this blaster was never meant for you. As for me, I'm just upset it only comes with the one magazine. I don't know what the point of that is, and as of this video being recorded, I cannot find a single spot online selling the magazines by themselves. And yeah, if there's anything you need to take away from this review, it's the fact that this thing is light. It is compact. It is very nice feeling in the hands, even though the plastic does feel a little bit thinner than what I'm used to with these kind of things. And it is more tactical, real steel inspired than some other offerings. And if you don't like that, there are plenty of other blasters you can get that aren't that. We are spoiled for choice, and having more choices is never a bad thing. And the edge of the box does claim it goes up to 150 FPS, which is a little bit low, but at the same time, I don't think I have a single AEG that hits that low. And considering velocity caps are a thing in pretty much every single game, this might be the blaster for those of you looking for something that doesn't hit too hard. The charging handle on the back of this thing is really stiff, smooth, but stiff. And apparently that will also help for you chambering your first round once you power this thing up. Really, my only complaint about this blaster is pretty much everything back here. This stock, for instance, is incredibly cheap and flimsy. If I try to shoulder it too hard, it actually bends apart and stuff like that. It does look cool, but yeah, this is maybe not the best one. That being said, you can put whatever buffer tube stock you want on it. And of course, the XT30 connector we have back here is meant for a buffer tube style 3S LiPo that I do not have. So if things look weird when I'm testing this blaster, it's because I had to do some kind of workaround. But enough talk, let's take this thing over to Freddy and put some darts through it. It's always a good time with Freddy the Chronograph, and using the BK1S's included bamboo style darts, which, might I add, are 10% heavier than Adventure Force Pro darts, I achieved an average velocity of 195.1 feet per second, which is far more than the advertised up to 150 feet per second on the box. Of course, the main question is, how does it compare with the good old reliable Adventure Force Pro darts? And the answer to that is horrible. My shots were absolutely everywhere. These were lightly used darts, but these are like, we're talking a low of 44.9 feet per second with an average of 151, a high of 186.8. I mean, yikes. Yeah, don't use pro darts with this thing. And if you're wondering how I charge my lipos and whatnot, the best charger I've used so far is the SkyRC B6 Neo. There's gonna be a link for this from Amazon down in the description. It's an affiliate link, so if you buy one with no cost to you, I get a kickback, which is super awesome. I use one of these little tiny adapters to change from an XT60 to an XT30. Then I can plug my battery into it, and the whole charger is powered via USB-C, and a toddler could choke on this thing. It is so small and powerful. And as for actually using the blaster with one of these pack-style batteries and not the buffer tube style, well, we could just take off the original stock and put on this massive buffer tube stock that is actually meant for a different kind of airsoft style, most likely NiCad battery, and this will actually allow me to stuff this little tiny pack down in the back of it and still have a stock to boot. So it ain't stupid if it works. All right, we're gonna start the BK1S off in semi-auto mode. It does have also a 2-shot mode and full auto, and of course a safe position, but didn't come with any kind of sights or anything. So here we go with the knockoff Trichicon SRS. Do you fit on that rail? Yep, this thing is definitely not gonna be sighted in for this, but at least I have a point of reference for every shot. Oh, that's pretty close. Not really. Never mind. There was a couple of inconsistent shots, but that was also still stupidly accurate with no stabilization at all. So let's throw stabilization on there and see what happens. Well, that's kind of wedged on there, but this is a non-standard barrel diameter that most of my scar muzzles will not fit on. So hopefully we see some success. Yeah, we do. I'm gonna do that again. Think I know where to hold it, but that's why we use these B cars. $93. Yeah, that helped a lot. So to switch it into burst fire mode or a 2-shot burst, you just put it in the semi-auto position and hold down the trigger. It will of course fire once, you can't prevent that, but after about 5 seconds it will beep and let you know it's on a double shot mode. Ooh. Did we just have our first jam? Suppose so. Let's see if that happens again. So if you do kind of like lightly tap the trigger, it will still only fire 1 round, which is super interesting. But if you hold down the trigger, okay, you could pretty much just leave this on semi-auto then, because on semi-auto, if I just lightly tap it, that's a really good response time, by the way. But if I hold it down, that's what we get. The rate of fire isn't the greatest. It's definitely useful, and that double shot with that rate of fire, which I will calculate here at the end of this, is pretty useful, but it's not the fastest thing ever. But if you know how little your magazines are and how big your darts are in Nerf and stuff like that, you would know that high rate of fire is rarely ever useful. And for our last trick, we'll put it into full yeet mode. 88. Yeah, this thing's absolutely a tack driver. No complaints whatsoever about the performance. Not the highest rate of fire ever, but it's really controllable and you won't waste an entire mag on one individual. So all around, perfect score in my opinion. All right, and now very important, what is that full auto rate of fire? Freddie, let us know. Be 311.2 rounds per minute, which is pretty slow. But unless you're trying to do 1 mag, 1 tag, that's the perfect rate of fire in my opinion. So the last bit of information here is this thing an open bolt or is it a closed bolt? And technically right now, it would be considered closed bolt because the bolt is closed. The priming handle is really light, which means it's already cocked the spring back. So technically the plunger rod and everything is ready to go right now. And when you fire it, the catch is going to release, that plunger is going to go through, drive the air into the dart, into the barrel, and then it's going to reset rearward and cock the blaster again with every trigger pull. So if I were to just take the battery out right now and store this blaster, the spring would stay cocked the entire time, which means it would ruin our spring. So to avoid doing that, we do have one more shutdown procedure. Flip it into the 1 position and you hold down the trigger. It's going to fire, dry fire, then it's going to beep once to turn it into 2-shot mode, and then after about 15 seconds, it's going to beep again, and when you let go of the trigger, it's going to release the plunger, like so. So when I release, and now it's ready to go. We can pull out our battery and we can store this thing. And that's everything you need to know about the BK1S. So the last thing is, what do I think about it? Holy crap, this thing is so freaking fun. This is, I want to say it's the best one of these AEG style blasters I have used. And I've liked all of them so far. This one ticks all the boxes with the sole exception of the magazine compatibility. And really, if you wanted to convert this thing, I suppose you can, but you're gonna have to redo the entire mag well, and that is a huge task. And it might not even be possible in general because Talon mags are bigger than the mag it came with. If these were readily available and they were cheap enough, in fact, if they were cheaper than Talon mags, buying 4 or 5 of these so you have everything you would need was still probably cheap enough to get the blaster and 5 mags than it is to hit any other one of these AEG style blasters. It is light, it is compact, it is tactical. This is one of the only blasters I've ever had where the priming handle on the automatic thing actually has a function, which makes this thing feel amazing to use. The only other complaint I have is the mag well. You can see it's got more than enough room here. In fact, if I really wanted to just take a Dremel and sand this out, I could fix it. But there's more than enough room here for me to like remove this and have way easier feeding into the blaster. This thing death grips the mag. There's no way. You have to pull it out deliberately every time, where if this was just sanded down and a little bit looser, yeah, it might rattle a little bit, but you'd be able to freely drop your mags and also be able to guide them in easier. That is it. And maybe the fact that the controls, especially the select fire stuff, is not ambidextrous. It even has right here what I believe to be QD sling mount points, so really does do everything. The stock sucks, but you can replace that, but this does everything you would want an AEG to do. It's select fire. It is accurate as all heck once you put a proper SCAR or BCAR muzzle on the end of this thing. And I've fired a few hundred darts through this thing now and have had 0 issues, maybe 1 jam out of like 400 shots. For the domestic market this thing's catered to, they've gotta be happy. Low price point, low weight, high accuracy, good power. It does everything I would want a blaster like this to do. Could it hit harder? Sure. Do I need it to? Not really. The only question now is, if you're outside of Asia, how do you get your hands on one? And for that, well, I'm gonna have to update the description in the future when this thing actually does go on sale, because there are some places that have them up for pre-orders, but I don't trust those places. So when I find a shop I like that is carrying this blaster, I will update that description down below, where you can purchase one and see what the final price is, and you can make your own decision. If this thing is around 160 bucks, if it's sub 200, especially with a couple of magazines, highly, highly recommended for those of you interested in getting into a fully automatic Springer blaster that is more competitive grade. This thing will blow socks off of pretty much any flywheeler that's in that 160 to 200 FPS range. It feels amazing to use. If you like this kind of milsim aesthetic, you're really, really gonna like the BK1S. And yeah, I absolutely have to get more mags for this thing. I can't believe I wasn't sent extra mags.